GTM Podcast The Story of Life and Time of the Great Master พระมงคลเทพมุนี also known as หลวงปู่วัดปากน้ำ As mentioned in the previous episode, we are most likely often call him หลวงปู่ You may be wonder what does หลวงปู่ mean since we have used this mention him so many times in the story. หลวงปู่ as it is a Thai word. It's used to address monk who is older. หลวง is mean venerable. ปู่ is mean grandfather. Thus combine these two terms is mean venerable grandfather. Since in each temple, as the custom in Thailand, there can only be two หลวงพ่อ which is venerable father in each temple. And as the Dhammakaya temple, there are already two หลวงพ่อ. Thus, not to confuse title address him, we decide to call him as หลวงปู่ instead. And that's how it is come to call our great master as หลวงปู่. Let's continue to our story. From the previous episode, we have mentioned about the early time of Thailand or Siam in the time of our great master. Today we will talk about the beginning of his life story. Famously known as หลวงปู่วัดปากน้ำ one of the most venerated Buddhist monk in the history of Thailand, พระมงคลเทพมุนี was born as สดมีแก้วน้อย on October 10, 1884 to the family of เนือง and สุดใจมีแก้วน้อย a rice merchant in the village of สองพี่น้อง Suphanburi province, 60 miles west of Bangkok, Thailand. สด was the second born of 5 siblings with an older sister, Da, and 3 younger brothers, Sai, Puk, and Samruan, in order of birth. The family house was in the north of Song Pinong commune. The house was located on a peculiar piece of land resembling the shape of 2 lotus buds joined together, surrounded by water on all sides. It was positioned to the south of Wat Song Pinong, a village temple on the opposite side of the canal. The family had 2 river barges and several crew members. They shipped rice between Song Pinong and Bangkok, and sometimes Nakhon Chai Si, a district of Nakhon Phanom, 2 or 3 times a month. Sot was an intelligent child with strong willpower. In whatever he set out to do, he would always persevere until it was done and done well. When he was little, he used to help his mother tend the oxen, and regardless of his young age, he would plunge fearlessly into a neighbor's herd in order to retrieve missing oxen, no matter where they might have strayed or how late into the night it might have been. He would never return empty-handed. Sot showed a sign of compassion even when he was very young. While helping his parents plough the rice field each morning, as it neared midday, he would gaze up to check the position of the sun to note what time it was. His sister thought he was lazy, waiting for the time to take a break, but in fact, he was watching for the appropriate time to relieve his ox. If he saw that the oxen had been overworked and had become tired, he would lead them off for a bath and then let them loose to graze. Sot helped his parents with their work until he was 9, when he began his formal education with his uncle, a monk at Wat Song Pinong. In those days, before the establishment of state school, monks were the only teachers, and the Buddhist temple functioned as school for people in the community. It was customary for a monk not to take residence in one place for too long. Thus, after only a few months, his uncle moved to another temple and Sot followed. Subsequently, his uncle moved to a temple in Thonburi, across the river from Bangkok, 60 miles away from his native village. Because of the distance, Sot did not follow his uncle but went on to continue his study at Wat Bang Pla, a temple in Nakhon Pathom province, the hometown of his father's side of the family. There, he studied Thai and Khom under the tutelage of Venerable Sap, until he was able to read and write both languages fluently. Sot was 14 when his father passed away. As the eldest son, the burden of running the family business and supporting his mother and siblings fell on his young shoulders. He took over his father's rice trading business and worked hard to grow the business. Sot's earnestness, hard work, and intelligence soon won the love and respect of his crew as well as his relatives. His business prospered and the family became well established. Sot was always keen on developing himself, never content with his own level of development. He would emulate the success of others and incorporate their good qualities into himself. A turning point in his life came when in one trading trip to Bangkok in 1903. He sold all the rice in his boat and headed home with the empty barge and a large sum of money. The main river routes that he traveled were extremely treacherous, so he took the detour through a remote waterway known as Klong Bang Etan. This was a narrow stretch of canal dragged by boatmen, because it was infested with pirates and bandits. Only a few lucky boats would manage to pass Bang Etan without being robbed or killed. Usually they would travel in a convoy for security. That night, Sot's boat was the only one in sight. Upon reaching his narrow stretch, the fear of death struck him. Sot knew the strategy of the pirate. They would aim to attack the captain or the helmsman first to gain the control of the boat. The person at the front of the boat would be in a safer position, as he could fight or escape. Sot's survival instinct told him that he should switch his position from the helm to the front of the boat to avoid danger, so he ordered his crewmen at the front to take his place at the helm. Sot had a rifle. He grabbed it and strode toward the boat as the boat gradually glided into the remote part of the canal. Then a guilt conscience struck him. He thought, "All the crew gets from me for looking after this strange barge is 11 or 12 bahts a month, is equivalent of 60 to 60 cents of those days. As for me, I am the owner of the boat and I have all the money. If I hand down death to my less than fortunate workers, I would be taking advantage of a fellow man. It is the wrong thing to do. The money is mine, the boat is mine. If someone should die, it should be me. Let the workers escape so they can leave to take care of their families." He was ashamed for having made such a selfish move. He called a crewman back to the oars and sat himself at the tiller with the rifle in his lap. Although he finally managed to pass through the crisis in safety, the whole episode left him with a deep sorrow in his fellow men. It was an awakening for him. Making a living is such a hard thing indeed. To go through such an ordeal just to avail oneself of a day's wage. Material wealth is so ingrained in a man's value that he loses touch with the reality and true purpose of life. Thus society so despise the unmade man to ostracize him until he earned himself riches? In the end, everyone must die. My father has died. My relatives have died. And when they die, they could take nothing with them. What is the point of having all these possessions when you can't take them with you with your grave? Everyone must die. One day, I too must die. Haven't I learned from those who are dead? He pondered what he should do with his life. After much reflection, he came to the conclusion that there was nothing more worthwhile for him to do than pursuing life of purity by becoming a monk. Having made up his mind, he lit these 3 sticks of incense, pressed them between his palms, and made the following wish: Please don't let me die before I have a chance to ordain. Once I ordain, I will be for life. And so, everyone, that is the beginning and the turning point of our great master, หลวงปู่วัดปากน้ำ. What would be the story of his life after? We will continue in the next episode, Becoming a Buddhist Monk. We hope you enjoy the story and continue to supporting us. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share. See you again next time.